because we've got very non-denominational.
Dollars.
This one's half a notch away from
Okay, you ready? Okay, great. Thank you, Ted. Okay, I'll call the meeting of the McHenry County Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Today, we're hearing application number 2023-030. The applicant is Neil Donner, Self-Declaration of Trust, and Carol Connor, Self-Declaration of Trust. Is that correct, Donner and Connor? Okay. There are two different pins for this property, 2008-176-015 and 2008-176-014. The address is 612 Three Oaks Road, Cary, Illinois, and it's a request for a reclassification from the A1 Agricultural District to the E1 Estate District. The location of this parcel, besides the address, it's the northern parcel consisting of 1.1 acres located on the east side of Saddle Oaks Drive, about 426 feet north of Three Oaks Road. The southern parcel consists of 1.9 acres and is located on the north side of Three Oaks Road, roughly 100 feet east of the intersection with Saddle Oaks Drive and Algonquin Township. I'd like the members of the board to introduce themselves by township in which they reside, starting on my right, Mr. Jers.
Thomas Jers, Coral Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Vicki Gardner, Nunda Township.
I'm Linnea Kustra from Alden Township.
Charlie Eldridge, Richmond Township.
Bob Cozen, Algonquin Township.
This petition has been reviewed and the following items have been received prior to today's scheduled hearing. The publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated June 24, 2023. The affidavit of posting was signed and the date posted was June 23, 2023. And the affidavit of mailing was signed and the date mailed was June 21, 2023. All meeting ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and publication in the newspaper, and all three match. The filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation was not required for this petition. The McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. So for members of the public, how the hearing will work is that the petitioner will present their testimony. They will be asked questions by the board and staff, and then if any member of the public has a question about their testimony, you'll come up here to the mic on my right, identify yourself with your name and your address, and then you have 3 minutes to ask questions of the petitioner. And then after they're done, then the staff will give us their report, and any members of the board might have questions of the staff report. Then finally, if you would like to make a comment, a statement regarding this petition, you'll have the opportunity to do that as well. And then again, you'll just come back up into this microphone and you'll have 3 minutes to state, whatever comments you have. So anybody that would like to speak today, whether you'll be asking questions or giving testimony, I would like to swear you in. So just please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. I'll turn it over to the petitioner's representative. If you would please introduce yourself, and then you can give us your testimony.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Matt Miller, attorney from Clark, Haggerty & Miller in Crystal Lake. I'm here on behalf of my clients, the petitioners, and they are requesting, with the property at 612 Three Oaks Road in Cary, to rezone the two parcels from A1 Agricultural District to E1. The purpose of this is that they are under contract to sell the northern parcel, and they wanted to market this as a buildable lot with the intention that the buyers are most likely going to build a residence on this. To my knowledge, everything's been reviewed, and again, it's my understanding that changing the zoning to E1 is consistent with other properties in the area, and follows the comprehensive plan.
Can you address the approval standards for a map amendment that's found on page 5 in the staff report, please?
So let's see. So the approval standards for the map amendment, we have the compatibility of the proposed zoning with the existing use and zoning of nearby properties. I believe this is consistent. The property has been used as a single-family residence, both parcels for quite some time now. They do not use it for any type of agricultural purposes. It's also my understanding the surrounding properties there in the Saddle Oak subdivision are also zoned E1 as well. To the extent B, to the extent to which the property values of the subject property are diminished by the existing zoning, we would state that, rezoning this to E1 would have really no effect on the surrounding properties, if any. Could potentially increase their property values with residents being constructed there versus it just being used as vacant land. Item C, to the extent to which the public health, safety, and welfare of the public are promoted by the existing zoning, I would argue that this is really not applicable. Again, since they are not using the property for agricultural purposes, it's been used as a primary residence for several years. Item D, to regain, relative to the gain to the public as compared to the hardship imposed on the applicant if the proposed zoning is denied. Again, I would argue there is really no hardship to the public here, and my client, again, he does intend to sell the northern parcel. This would impact his ability to do that. Item E, the suitability of the property for purposes of which it is presently zoned. Again, it's not being used as agricultural property. It was always used as a primary residence. The length of the property has been vacant as zone considered in the context of land development in the vicinity of the property. Again, the surrounding properties, I think the E1 zoning is consistent with all the other surrounding properties in the area. Item G, the community need for the proposed use. I would say that's probably not applicable in this case. And the consistency of the proposed amendment with the adopted comprehensive plan and the appropriateness of the comprehensive plan to the subject property. We've reviewed that, and I think it is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Okay, we'll start with questioning on my left. Mr. Cozen?
I have no questions.
Mr. Eldridge?
I really have just one question, and that is Saddle Oaks Drive, is that a dedicated public right-of-way?
Yes, to my knowledge it is.
So the parcel that's proposed to be sold off would have direct access to a public road?
Yes, correct.
Thank you, that's my only question.
Ms. Gardner?
Oh, there's, on the overhead picture, the photograph, there looks to be a building on the northern half. Can you tell me if that building is still there and what it is?
It is, to my knowledge. I believe it's the intention of the parties. It's a small shed.
It's a shed?
Yeah, it's just a shed. It's my understanding, I think it was a survey as well.
I was looking for that and I didn't find it.
Correct. The surveyor identifies it as a pole barn, but my client calls it a shed.
Same thing.
But
Okay, thank you.
essentially, the intention would be to remove that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have no questions.
Mr. Jers?
I also have no questions.
Okay, I just have one question. So I'm looking at your petition and it says Neil and Carol Donner. But on the staff report, I asked you because it says Neil Donner Trust and Carol Connor Trust.
Oh, my apologies. It should be Donner with a D.
So they're both Donner with a D?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll.
One parcel
we'll
is owned
correct
by
that in the
Neil
record.
Donner's trust, the other parcel is owned by Carol Donner's trust, their husband and wife.
Okay, and does staff have any questions for the petitioner?
No questions.
Does any member of the public have a question for the petitioner? Sure, come on up and identify yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Charles Haas, 7505 Saddle Oaks Drive, Cary, Illinois. I happen to live right across to the west of the subject property on Saddle Oaks Drive. Is your client aware, or perhaps their buyer, that all of the lots on Saddle Oaks Drive belong to an HOA?
Yes, my client is aware. I presume the buyers are aware.
Okay, and is it their intent and understanding that they would be subject to incorporation into this HOA for entryway maintenance and such for the HOA?
To my knowledge, this property is not subject to those covenants and restrictions. We pulled a title commitment, and there were no recorded covenants, restrictions against the property that would require him to join the Saddle Oaks Homeowners Association.
I'm not sure if this is a question or a statement I should make later, but directly west of the subject property at 3 Oaks Road and Saddle Oaks Drive, I guess that would be the northeast corner. That is a easement that is owned by the Saddle Oaks HOA. There's an entryway monument signage that we pay landscaping and maintenance for. There's also insurance. There's also drainage that's associated that may be impacted by your lot as well. There's a pond at the north end of the property. I believe it's off Cove Drive, but I think there's some considerations to be made here also concerning the architectural control of the community, as Saddle Oaks is an HOA and there are requirements associated with architectural standards, maintenance, and whatnot.
That's the statement.
I guess that's a statement more than a question, yeah, but no other questions.
No, thank you.
Anyone else have a question? Okay, then we'll move on to report from staff.
Okay, Anna Kurtzman, Senior Planner for McHenry County. The property is currently zoned A1. They are requesting E1. Both parcels would meet the requirements for an E1 lot. It is not part of a platted subdivision. These are meets and bounds descriptions that were associated with these parcels.
I'm sorry, could you speak up and repeat that?
These two parcels were a meets and bounds described property. They are not part of a recorded subdivision. Okay. The two parcels would meet the E1 zoning standards for both requirements. I have had conversation with the potential purchaser of the northern lot. He was inquiring about the pole barn that's up there. We discussed various options with that. He may or may not want to take it down. He may want to make improvements to it, using it as a pole barn going forward. In my report, you will note that I did raise a question as to whether the creation of the two lots met the State Plat Act at the time that they were created. Kim Charlo from our office did do a buildability determination of the northern parcel and found that she could only trace the creation back to 1990. So the applicant is now aware that they may need to investigate that as they move forward with potentially selling the northern parcel. Worst case scenario for the applicant would be that they would have to go through a subdivision to create that under today's Plat Act requirements. Would that be a worst case scenario? Although we noted that in our report, that should not impact your decision as to whether this meets the requirements for an E1 district. As noted, it is surrounded by E1 on 2 of its 4 sides. The other 2 sides are currently A1. It is consistent with the future land use map of residential for this area.
Any questions by the board? Go ahead, Chairman.
Yes, the same question I had for the attorney. Is Saddle Oaks Drive a public right-of-way?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, so at this point, any member of the public, if you'd like to come up and make a comment, you have 3 minutes. So if anyone wants to give any testimony, this is your opportunity.
Hi, my name is Dan Hogan. I'm at 618 Brattle Lane, which is just a kitty corner to this property. I would just echo what my neighbor Charles has said with concerns for this property as it's being developed, being incorporated into our HOA for the architectural standards that for the sake of maintaining property values and consistency of aesthetics in our subdivision. And I would also just mention that while this has been referenced as a vacant lot, it is not an unattractive vacant lot from our plot's perspective. It's beautiful woods that are out our front window, and so we'd be concerned that as that lot is developed residentially, that hopefully not all of those trees are taken out, because while I can't certainly say how it might affect property value, it certainly affects the quality of view that we have from our home. Thank you.
Anna, when you said this is a meets and bounds property, that's what, saying that it's not part of that subdivision, correct?
Correct.
So that it would not be part of the homeowners association when the subdivision was formed.
To the best of my knowledge, that would be correct.
Any other comments, members of the public? Okay. Oh, so, do you have a closing statement, sir?
Yes, I think with the testimony that was provided, again, I think it's, again, the E1 classification would be consistent with the surrounding properties, and I don't see anything that would prevent my clients from, again, wanting to sell this as a buildable lot, and we support the reclassification E1 zoning. Thank you.
Okay, we only have 6 members here today, and you're entitled to 7 votes for the county board. You need 5 affirmative votes in order to get a positive recommendation for the county. I just need your permission if you would like to go forward or if you'd like to wait.
Yes, please. Please proceed.
Okay, so we'll close the hearing portion of the meeting and we'll move into the voting portion of this meeting. And again, this is petition 2023-030. It's a reclassification from the A1 Agricultural District to the E1 Estate District. The applicant is Neil Donner, Self-Declaration of Trust, and Carol Donner, Self-Declaration of Trust. Address 612 Three Oaks Road, Cary, Illinois. So at this time, I would entertain a motion.
I move acceptance of the petition.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Mr. Eldridge and seconded by Ms. Gardner. Discussion, Mr. Eldridge.
Yes, there are 2 parcels here approximating 3 acres in total. There is some question on the division of the property into the 2 parcels, whether it creates, with the newly created parcel 30 years ago, whether that satisfies the Plat Act and creates a buildable, a lot pursuant to the Plat Act, and they may have to redo that. But having said that, there is, in my mind, no question that the standards for reclassification have been met, that this parcel is not suitable for A1. A1 generally with a residence on it requires 40 acres for building a new residence. This parcel has not been farmed in a great many years, if ever, and it is surrounded by estate-type residences and subdivided into 2 parcels. The parcels will be of similar size to a great many, if not all, the parcels which now surround it. The issue as to whether a purchaser of this lot should or must join the homeowners association is something to be taken up at a later date, and frankly is not relevant to the zoning change. I always urge new neighbors to talk to their neighbors and work with them, but that is beyond the purview of this commission. Therefore, for all of the above reasons, I would support rezoning this parcel, these two parcels or one parcel, depending on how that comes out, into E1, and will support the petition.
Mr. Cozen?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I recognize that the petition that is before us is to address the amendment standards found in the Unified Development Ordinance. And as much as I would enjoy a trip down the Illinois Plat Act and the authority of the county to enforce that, I recognize too that we are limited by the petition and the matters that are brought before us. And seeing that and hearing the record before us, I too will be supporting the petition.
Ms. Gardner?
Well, Charlie took some of the words right out of my mouth. I hope that the issue with the HOA is resolved in some way. It is not a problem for this board. It has nothing to do with us. And I know that, you know, when you're used to looking at something out your window and it's going to change, it's always hard. It just is. But I do hope that the HOA can find it, you know, in their hearts to welcome their new neighbors and, you know, make them feel like part of the community, whether they're in the HOA or not. Other than that, I see nothing wrong with this request. The E1 makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of E1 all around there. There's no water or soil issues on this property. It has never been farmed as far as I can tell, and I'm in favor of it.
Mr. Schnabel?
I agree with everything that's been said and will support the petition.
Mr. Jers?
I can make it shorter than you.
I know you can.
I vote yes.
And I will say as well, it meets, the land use plan calls for this as a state zoning on the map, and as well as it's used really as a state zoning. The current land use is residential, hasn't been farmed. Zoning surrounding it is a state residential, so I agree with my colleagues that the standards have been met, and I will be voting in favor of this rezoning. So I will call for the vote. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Mr. Jers?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. This will go to the county board with a 6-0 vote approving. At this time, the hearing is closed. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your time.